So now we're going to see where we can use solving equations in shapes and angles and geometry pretty much. So let's break it down real quick. We're going to talk about angles mainly, and then we'll talk about perimeter in the back. So what you need to know is you see a lot of what we've been learning in triangles. And you just need to know that the sum of the angles in a triangle, so there are 3 angles in a triangle, is equal to 180. Okay, otherwise known as something you might be familiar with last year called supplementary, another name for sum of 180. So if I look at number 1, first things first, we got to figure out what the 3 angles are. So this one's already labeled 52 degrees. Do you remember back last couple years what the angle is if it has a square in the corner? That's exactly 90 degrees. And then this one is the angle that we're trying to solve for. So we're trying to solve for x. So if I spell it out for you, it would be x plus 52 plus 90 equals 180. And then we're going to solve what we've been doing the last couple, or I guess last couple of days. Anytime you have a variable by itself, there's an invisible 1 there. And then I combine like terms, so I put squares around my x's. So here would be 1x. And then my circles would be positive 52 and positive 90. Since they're the same, we're going to add them. So 90 plus 52 is 142. And then I bring down the 180. Then I have multiplication, I have addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 142 both sides. So the 142's cancel. And now since same or different, since they're different, I'm going to subtract. So I've got to borrow a little bit here. And so it would be 38 degrees. Then I would divide by 1, but that would just mean it would be 38. So x equals 38. On the next one, you just have to know that these 2 lines mean that these 2 sides are the same, but that also means that these 2 angles are the same. So if this is x, that means this one's also x. So if I spelled it out, it would be x plus 36 equals 180. Remember, if there's no number in front of a variable, there's an invisible 1 there. And so then I do my squares and circles. I have a square around 1x and positive 1x. Same, so I would add them, so that would be 2x. Then the only circle would be positive 36, so I keep it down. Then I have multiplication, addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction, so those cancel out. 180 and negative 36, they're different, so I'm actually going to subtract. So it would be 44. And then I'm going to divide, because the opposite of multiplication is division. And 44 divided by 2 is 22. So x equals 22. So let's step it up a level now. If I look at number 3, this one looks a little more daunting because there's more to it. So I'm going to spell it out. Remember, all 3 angles equal 180. If we want, we can just look at the picture and do squares and circles. So my squares would be 9x and 2x. 9 plus, they're both positive, so I add. 9 plus 2 is 11x. My circles would be positive 1, positive 43, and 92. Let's do 92 and 1 first. They're both positive, so I add. So 92 plus 1 is 93. And then 93 and positive 43 are both positive 2, so I'm going to add those as well. So it's positive 136. Then I draw my line down the equal sign. I look at what I have. I have multiplication. I have addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction. It's just dealing with really larger numbers than we're used to, but the math is the same. Since they're different, I do subtract. So that would be 44. And then I'm going to divide by 11. 44 divided by 11 is 4. So x equals 4. Number 4, so this is the same thing as the triangles. If you see a straight line like this, it means it equals 180. So if I do my squares and circles, my squares would be 3x and 4x. They're both positive, so I add, so it's 7x. The only circle would be minus 9, so I bring it down. And so I have 7x minus 9 equals 180. And then we solve. I see multiplication, I see subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is to add. So we're going to do plus 9. The 9 0 out, 180 plus 9 is 189. Then I'm going to divide by 7. Now, I don't know off the top of my head what 189 divided by 7 is, so we're going to do ice cream there. 7 doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 18 2 times, which is 14. Bring down the 9. 7 goes into 49 7 times, so that's 49. So x equals 27. Then number 5. This is telling me in the picture that angle 1 equals 3x plus 11. So I'm going to put it in the picture. And remember, this means that both of these sides are the same, which means both of these angles are the same. So they're both 68. So if I do my squares, the only square would be 3x. My circles would be 68, 68, and 11. So I'm going to have to add them up. So that's positive 147. And remember, 3 angles of a triangle equal 180. So then we just solve. Multiplication, addition. The opposite of addition is to subtract. So 180 minus 47. Going to have to borrow. It would be 33. Bring down the 3x. My next step is to divide. So 33 divided by 3 is 11. One more in the front. So the only difference you might see here is something called complementary angles. These are whenever you have a right angle, and remember what we talked about up here on number 1, a right angle is equal to 90. So it's different than the 180. They're telling me here that A is 6x minus 4 and B is 2x minus 2. If I do squares and circles, I have squares 6 and 2, which is positive, so we add, which is 8x. My circles would be negative 4 and negative 2. Since they're the same, we do add. 4 plus 2 is 6, but it would be minus 6. But this time it's going to equal 90 because it said a 90-degree angles. That's complementary. Then I see a multiplication subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is I'm going to add. 90 plus 6 is 96. Then the opposite of multiplication is to divide. I'm going to do ice cream over here. 9 goes into 8. 8 goes into 9 one time. Bring down the 6. 8 goes into 16 twice. So x equals 16. And then where you may see it in perimeter of any shape is the sum of all sides. That means you add up all the sides and it equals the perimeter. So number 7 says we have a rectangle. So I'm going to draw a picture, but pictures always help. The perimeter is 54. That means when I add up all the sides, it equals 54. They said that one side, the width is 12 inches and the length is 4x. But you have to remember perimeter means all of the sides. Since this side is 4x, this side is 4x. Since this side is 12, this side is 12. So when I do my squares and circles, it would be 4x and 4x, which is 8x. Positive 12 and positive 12, which is 24. So it'd be plus 24 equals 54. And then I draw my line down the equal sign. So it's kind of the same thing. Opposite of addition is to subtract. 54 minus 24 is 30. And then 8x over here. Then I'm going to divide by 8. This comes out to be a decimal, so let's figure it out. 8 doesn't go into 30, but it goes into 30 3 times, which is 24. Bring down the 6. I got to put a decimal to continue. 8 goes into 67 times, which is 56. And then bring down another 0. 8 goes into 45 times. So 3.75 is my answer for that one. And then you talk about a triangle where all 3 sides, since they already gave me all 3 sides and they say the perimeter equals 118, I'm going to do squares and circles. So squares around 10x and 5x, both positive, so I add, which is 15x. 18, positive 36, and positive 16. Since they're all positive, that means the same. I'm going to add them together. So that's 70. And it's positive 70. And then they said my total perimeter is 118. So then we solve. Opposite of addition is to subtract. 180 minus 70, 118 minus 70 is 48. Then I'm going to divide by 15. So this is not the prettiest, but we get decimals sometimes. And so I have to divide it out. 15 doesn't go into 4, but it goes into 48 3 times, which is 45. Then I got to put a decimal and a 0. So then 15 goes into 32 times. So my answer would be 3.2.